Cosmic, cosmic.
Welcome back to Friend or Foe, where we begin our second day of the Heroic League playoffs between Team Spear and Team YUBI. I'm Torres, and casting with me today is Raptor.
Hey, what's up?
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the draft, I want to apologize for the graphics. Our team ran into a little bit of issues with the UI, but the show must go on.
Yeah, it happens. It's there was an update in the underlying system we use, so it just came out like an hour ago, so we just haven't gotten it updated. But it's okay because you can still see these very exciting bands that we've got going.
It looks like a couple key bands coming out from Team YUBI, respecting Diddle's his pocket picks. Actually, the Anivia and Vel'Koz already going out.
Yeah, Diddle's been. I'd say those are probably his most effective champions we've seen him on this season, especially the Vel'Koz. They've been pretty key in their wins when he's been on them. So putting him on something a little bit less comfortable, I think, will be good for them. And then there's the Veigar. So a lot of those CC scaling mages, they likes to play in the mid lane that are a little bit lane bullies. So I'm taking it then that we're gonna see a mid lane pick in the first 3 picks for YUBI. I think they're gonna save their top lane pick for their last pick.
Yeah, that's an option. I mean, there's also YUBI and Spear might be forced to pick a mid laner due to the champion pool being pinched. They could just straight up go for 5 bans on the mid lane. Looks like YUBI's hovering at least Malzahar. Looks like it was locked in actually.
Yeah, Malzahar is a very solid pick. Very good at lockdown. Very easy to get the ball rolling with. It's all so great. I'm feeling they're just going to go for like a really big dive pit comp. It kind of suggests that just lock down the target and everyone just pile on. So good start with that. Volibear, I think though, that could be very helpful in stopping that. Since anyone that gets caught, he can just jump over to and at least try to help save. So kind of a beefier comp. I'm guessing Spear is going for a more team fight oriented composition.
Yeah, probably more team fighted composition. We've seen Volibear, even though the Chem Tank nerfs have gone through, we've seen a little bit of Volibear in the pro play, and at least in the NALCS, we've seen a little bit of it played. The viability it has just to set up the tower dive, just a little bit of beef and early game pressure you have. You press the attack, you can skirmish okay against the other junglers, but it does fall off in the late game. But it looks like it's going to be assisted by the Cardinal pick.
Yeah, that Karma right now is a great pick. It can flex into 3 positions right now, top, mid, and support. So it doesn't give anything away taking it. It's really solid right now. It counters a lot of those heavy engage comps, especially with a Malzahar or a Leona that you're seeing come out from YUBI. You can just drop that big shield and help your AD, help whoever gets picked kind of survive just long enough to get out of there. So that's a good, I think, solid pickup, especially since we don't know where it's going otherwise. We'll have to see what comes out next. I'm guessing something like, I'd say, AD carry wise, I could see something maybe like a Jhin coming out with this composition later. But Zach is actually, I think, really underrated right now by people. He's really strong right now.
Yeah, he's really strong, really good gank pressure, especially with the pressure of the lane from the Leona and the Malzahar. Once Malzahar is 6, he has easy lockdown for the Zach ganks, and Leona always has it starting from level 2. Granted, you take the E and the Q, easy lockdown. The Zach maxing E, and he farms pretty efficiently too. Not many people get that. Zach is beefy, it adds a lot of support, can gank from multiple different angles, and it heals. The clear is pretty healthy.
Yeah, and I'm of the opinion that you can rush a Warmogs on him, especially with the Warmogs changes, and he can be really healthy in between ganks and his jungle clear. He doesn't really need the Mythic right off the bat since it's his utility that really makes him or breaks him. So I think you rush that, you just start running around with some boots and just ganking everywhere you can, just getting your lanes ahead, get the Malzahar ahead, get whatever AD carry you pick up. I'm Now we're in the second phase of bans. I want to go back and talk about Spear's mid lane because they've locked in, guaranteed their mid lane with the Syndra. I'm not a big fan of this pick. I think it struggles really hard into the composition YUBI has drafted so far. It's really tanky champions or champions that can just straight up lock her down or stop her from casting anything. In the case of Malzahar, it feels like almost like it's a counter pick of itself.
Yeah, it's more of a counter pick of itself. But in this sense, it's also counting the Zac ganks, keeping her a little bit safer from the Zac ganks and also the Leona E. I think it's more of a team comp difference. And especially with the Karma, they're moving around with the Mantra shields. I think once it goes to 5v5 team comp, I do give it to Team Spear if she does have the E up, just to spread them out. But I mean, that pick is very risky into the Malzahar. I mean, if you mess up the wave management at one point and Zac ganks you, you're just could be so behind. You're really just going to be another support in the utility.
Yeah, and I guess, they're kind of going with a traditional comp right now, a very just mid lane mage. You got, I'm gonna guess now this is gonna be a top lane Volibear, so you got your tank. You've got, I'm guessing, Karma going to support at this point. So you just got your kind of caster support to kind of beef up your AD carries. It's a very traditional comp they're running right there. I mean, they're both kind of running it, but I feel like so far I'm seeing a lot more. It's more focused in YUBI. I think on the side of Spear, there's a lot of different things that we're seeing. This if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if they can handle a team fight in this comp, especially now that they're locking in. If they lock in that Shen, like this is just a comp that's going to run you down.
Yeah, at this point in the game, I mean, if YUBI plays that aggressive style with that dive comp that they have, just play the 6. They have the ultimate from the Shen, they have the speed up from the Sivir, they have the dive from the Zac and the Leona. It's going to be super hard for Spear if they don't play these fights right, and this could just get snowballed out of control. That being said, if Team Spear plays the macro right and they're just running them ragged, even though it's a very hard thing to do, I can't see them winning.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong. It is going to be the Karma top, so Volibear jungle, Braum in the support role. Yeah, I think that's good. It's a very much protect the AD carry between with this comp. So it's going to be on Leshy. Leshy has to step up and he has to carry his team through this, because if he isn't able to get that big lead that they're looking for, I think it's going to be really difficult for Spear to take YUBI down here.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I mean, I guess we'll have to see what happens down on the Rift as both of these teams start to load in. We want to talk a little bit, as these teams start loading in and start moving onto the map as the minions don't spawn, I want to talk a little bit about the storyline here. YUBI was our first place team in the regular season and has already dropped down to the losers bracket off of a 2-1 from BBZ yesterday. Are you looking to see just domination through this lower bracket, or do you think that Team Spear has a fighting chance?
I actually expect domination. I felt like yesterday it was less YUBI. It wasn't YUBI playing worse. It felt like BBZ really stepped up their game yesterday. We saw a BBZ that we haven't seen really as much since last season. Yesterday in their games against YUBI. So I think it's still the same YUBI. I think they're gonna kind of run away with this series. I mean, that's my own personal take. Though it has been 2 weeks, Spear could have something up their sleeve. They do have practice. They do have the more connected, or the better established infrastructure with their organization. So they could have gotten more practice, better analysis, and we might see some strong plays strong play out of them today. But I think YUBI's got that chip on their shoulder from yesterday, and I think it's going to make them a very dangerous team in this. I feel like they want to dominate this series to prove a point. Hey, yesterday was just a fluke. We are still a dominating team in this league, and you're going to have to watch out for us throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the playoffs, throughout the regular season, you can see that Team YUBI really has really strong laners. You have Jeff Godgamer, one of the highest KDAs in the league. You see Brian Sang. I bet you can pull up a whole 5-minute highlight reel of him just going in, setting up his team. You got stable top laner, Freelancer, and Civlock, and Utility Monsters just doing his job, spoken straight to his name. But I mean, from Team Spear, I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, yes, it is a standard comp, and yes, I do think that YUBI has the better comp, but if they can play the macro right, I'm really excited to see how even this game can go. And it'll really highlight the team fight, the difference, and I think that once the second game comes around, win or lose from Team Spear, I feel like maybe they can fix their draft a little bit more.
Yeah, and we're seeing the lethality Sivir also coming out here too, so I think Leshy has... Ooh, actually, hang on. Nope, never mind. I thought it was gonna be a heavy gauge.
Brian Sang just goes in with the Zenith Blade. Gets a little bit of poke on the way back from Cheeky Pingu, but I mean, walks out safely.
Yeah, I thought that might have been a little bit harder, but Leshy got not far enough back that I felt like, it's not really worth trying to dive not especially level 2, not really worth diving a tower onto a Braum and a Tristana, but mid lane.
Utility Monsters found himself with an Elastic Slingshot with Diddle with that Spears, just gets him out with a double stun. I mean, it was a great timed gank. It looks like Brian Sang goes in for a little bit of poke. Just a little bit, just chipping down the Spears bottom lane. Cheeky Pingu and Leshy probably getting really annoyed right now. They cannot get any lane dominance at the moment.
Yeah, and this is going to be a much harder lane for Spear if it keeps getting brawly like this. And there's a lot of dives because Leshy's got cleanse. He doesn't have heal. There's no heal on this team, so if they get in a fight, Jeff God can just burst a heal out if they get low.
Found his way into the jungle though. Smited away that wolf camp from Utility Monster. I mean, that's got to be really annoying for a Utility Monster after going in for the level 2 gank, kind of sacrificing a little bit. Looks like Orphix found his way down. Civlock and Utility Monster walk in to check the buff. Freelancer coming down, making the roam. Looks like Diddle's farming a back right now. Utility Monster goes in, smited away by Orphic. Diddle's probably going to look for a TP or just sweep Orphic for dead. Orphic flashes over the wall. Does steal the blue buff, but I mean, Utility Monster is just not having a good game right now. He's just on a series of unfortunate events have led him to kind of a 11 CS deficit at the moment.
Yeah, this is he's down CS. That gank mid lane didn't quite work out. They weren't able to lock down the Syndra, and also in that fight around in the blue buff, he wasn't able to get into range to grab Orphic. So Oriri manages to get away. They doesn't get grabbed and pulled back together. I think that'd have been really bad if they'd both been pulled together. And Freelance, burns Flash there. I mean, they burned Orphix too, but now if Orphic comes back up top with Oriri and they lock down the Shen, he only has that dash. So this could be a little bit of a risky situation. So he is letting the wave just crash into him, and now 2 people coming down from mid lane.
Looks like Leshy jumps in. Looks like just a little roam from the mid and bot lane. Looks like Cheeky Pingu's gone a little too far deep. Has to flash out. Does trade the heal and the exhaust for the bot side of Team YUBI, but I mean, sending 4 members down, and now Civlock has priority in the lane. Diddle's already in a losing scenario. Down a couple minions. That wave has already crashed. They spend a lot of Team Spear is spending a lot of time on this bot side of the map for nothing.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying about the heal. Because YUBI has heal, they managed to keep Brian alive just long enough to get out of there. And the flash comes out of Cheeky Pingu. So, it's going to be if Utility Monster wants to come down, it's going to be kind of hard for him to get a little bit harder to get away. I mean, he can still just jump to Tristana, but it was kind of telegraphed, especially when Leshy jumped forward just abruptly like that. And I think that was the call from Jeff God. Okay, we need to get out of here. We need to run. Brian following up with there. And it was a good of those two to dodge the 4-man gank. That could have been really disastrous if, let's say, they got 2 kills onto Leshy or 2 onto Orphic. It could have been a little bit snowballing. But top lane is
just a little bit of a trade. The Shen Karma matchup. I mean, Shen is just living in a nightmare at the moment as Oriri just gets taunted, eats a couple autos, and laughs in his face.
Yeah, Karma W is... A lot of people don't really realize just how much healing it does. It's actually kind of stupid how much healing it does when you ult it. It's a double proc, so it procs the heal twice. And, even if you get dived on like that, like, you can trade back. You throw a Q, you drop the W, the ulted W, and now you're basically back to full health. And you can win trades pretty easily that way, especially into a Shen whose, healing isn't really as great in this, but yeah. I think so far it's been pretty balanced. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of attempts at trying to make something happen here by both these teams, and nothing quite has broken out. But I think once the first blood occurs, I think this game's going to blow up. I think it's going to just blow wide open.
Yeah, we'll see if Utility Monster is playing the catch-up game right now. I did like that the invades from Spear, you see Orphic going in alone, then he's calling in his teammates, was a little risky, but it did put Utility Monster alone and having to play catch-up EXP in the top and bot side of the jungle, just roaming around. But it looks like Civlock is put a little too far forward. Orphic wants the stun, but looks like Freelancer is just going to ult on top of him, kind of just call him out. Maybe YUBI looks for some sort of kill here. The Zenith Blade goes forward from Brian Sang onto Cheeky Pingu, knowing the flash is down. A little bit of slow chase. The Malzahar's suppression goes down. Looks like Cheeky Pingu has gone down to Freelancer for first blood. And Diddle is one to follow, kind of just walking in without a care in the world. Gives over the double kill.
Yeah, like I thought that was honestly gonna be like a lot of wasted for Yubi, especially when Freelance ulted in and Civlock had already gotten out. But Orphic and Pingu both, instead of just walking back towards the through the try and out just towards the towards the mid jungle, like the area between mid and blue, um, they walk back towards blue buff in the dragon pit, and that allows Jeff God and Brian Sang to get up there to catch them. Brian to get that E down, very good right there, buys them the time, and they just lock Pingu down. And Diddle tried his best to save him, but Freelance's taunt catches him, and it's just it's some of those little things, in a coordinated play. It's those little things where you're backing up through, where you're walking. That kind of pathing can really make the difference. And like I said, it's now 2 kills down. This game could explode right here, though. It is on the Malzahar and the Shen. I think if it had been on the Sivir or the Zac, it might have blown up a bit more, but it's still good places to get kills on.
Still a good place. A little bit of a misplay from Team Spear. The pathing was not there, but I mean, yeah, you were saying it's on the Malzahar and the Shen. The Shen, of course, is still going to get bullied in the lane by the Karma as soon as Oriri decides to go back and pick something up. But I mean, a little bit of aggression down on the bot side of the map. I think Leshy was not happy about that, and Pingu would not as well, as he's level 5. And honestly, I'm expecting Yubi to go in at some point in the bot lane.
Yeah, I think they'll look for something right here. I think they'll try to call down utility monsters shortly. He's clearing out wolves right now. Might just be getting ready after that blue buff. But I also want to give you Spear some credit. Like they're actually playing really not. They're actually playing pretty well. They've made some pretty proactive plays. The pathing was one mistake, but they still they were stealing blue. They stole blue buff. They got out of that. They're Oriri's kind of putting a lot of pressure on Freelance in this lane. I think they're actually doing pretty well. It's just about not letting those 2 kills for Yubi explode the gold lead. They need to just hold on, take it slow, kind of just farm it up a little bit, and get Leshy and Diddle to those like kind of item break points where they can finally, just nuke a target, like nuke Civlock or nuke Jeff God. Though I think that might be a bit harder in the case for Diddle because the spell shield. But if they can just one shot one of those targets, it'll make their team fight so much easier.
It looks like Team Spirit's coordinating something right now. They know the Zac is on the bot side of the map, or at least willing to take that 3v3. Orphic on the Herald, gonna pick that up for basically free. I mean, something we want to talk about, like that early invade we saw, where Orphic was up 2 camps, smited away the wolf camp, smited away the blue camp, got out by himself. I think that was more of a, well, it was a physical attack, obviously, as there was a 3v3. It was more of a psychological attack. We haven't seen Utility Monster just come out of his jungle for quite a while.
Yeah, he's been taking it kind of slow. He's just been farming up. I think that's kind of odd as a Zac. Like, you really should be ganking a lot more. But, oh, hang on. Freelance.
Yeah, Freelance. Oriri is really feeling that, not wanting to back. I mean, it's been quite a while since his last back. I want to say at least 7 minutes or so. Ever since he picked up that amp tone and boots, maybe?
Yeah.
Probably 5, more like 5. But, I mean, they're on the Drake right now, Yubi.
Yeah.
Looks like Freelance is going in for another taunt. It's a couple nice procs off. Oriri not really scared, though. Knowing that the jungler is on the bot side of the map, everyone else is kind of showing, and Oriri's just pushing away. He's doing karma things.
Yeah, I think he should have committed on there. Yeah, he was in the minion wave, but he can just use the W, block those hits.
Brian
from there.
Sang has come over, lands the ultimate, the Zenith Blade, everything's landing, and me oh my, Ditto is going down.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest problem with the Syndra is if you miss the E pushback, like you're basically a sitting duck. You have no mobility, you have no escape tools outside of that, and Brian takes advantage of that. He locks him down, lets Civlock also just layer the CC. Like I said, this is a comp that just piles onto targets. So like once you layer one piece of CC onto somebody, it's just layer after layer after layer. It's like a 7-layer dip, and it's now Diddle's down even further in this lane. I mean he's only down 2 CS, but he's down a kill. He's down 2 assists. Civlock has been making, I think, a much larger impact on this game, and he's been doing pretty well. He's been able to get some roams off, and I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, in Diddle's case, I mean, to be fair, I did expect if the Zac was ganking Diddle more, I do expect like an 0-4 Syndra. But at this point, he's doing pretty well for himself. When that Solar Flare came down, it looked like Diddle was kind of on the edge. But I'm going to hold that thought as Freelancer goes with the flash taunt. Brian Sang has made his way over to the top side of the map, looking to find that Zenith Blade. Oriri kind of just playing with him, stuck in the alcove. Brian Sang does miss the Zenith. Oriri's just playing around with him, knowing that he's not going to get any help, kind of just awaiting his death. But Oriri's doing his best to live on the top side of the map. does finally go down to Freelancer, but on the bot side of the map, since that took so long, the Rift Herald has been started up, and the tower plates are getting got on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, Ariri bought a lot of time there. Like, I honestly, like, I thought he was going to walk back towards his turret, but I get what they're doing. You know, you keep them distracted, you keep them trying to, going, hey, there's a target here, we can kill them. Like, he's just going to die. And then the Shen's not paying attention to the bot lane. He's not going to ult down there, so Jeff God can't go forward. And now this bottom tier turret, tier 1 is gone. Spear, first turret of the game, in a pretty good position. The goal lead is even, which is, you know, that's not bad for them. That's pretty good, especially after being down 4-0. So I think overall is good. Like it's a what's the word? It's a sacrifice for the greater good for your team. Like, oh, I'm dead, but it doesn't matter because I think actually that kill went over to Leona. So now you've just got. Actually, no, I think you got an earlier one. So it's still like, yeah, you maybe got a kill onto the Shen or Leona, but it's not going to be majorly impactful. They're not like hyper carries. They're just going to get tankier. So I think it's worth it overall.
Yeah, definitely worth it. Gets picked up the tower plating onto that carry that you want. We're talking about that Tristana and what she's going to do. And what she's going to do is she's going to need gold to do anything in these team fights. And putting those tower plates onto her, it will only propel her ahead.
Yeah, and because, you know, it's kind of lethal. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a little bit of lethality siver. She builds Mana Mune first, so she's gonna be down compared to the Tristana. She's already got her Kraken Slayer. She will win in most just straight on fights, unless the spell shield just blocks the ultimate. But still, Brian.
The ultimate comes down. The Solar Flare lands again onto Diddle. Now just a chain of CC, and Diddle is just done for.
The piling just keeps coming on. Poor Diddle is just getting picked on right now in this game. He is at no.
He is getting picked on, but I mean, has not burned the flash. Has been up this whole time.
You know, he's pulling a double lift. He's saving flash.
He's saving it for game 2.
Yeah, saving it for game 2. You know, if you save enough flashes, you know, you get a free flash on your card. It's the flash rewards card.
Yeah, I mean, the last death was kind of understandable, where like he got caught at like the edge of the solar flare, but still should have flashed because Sivlock did have ultimate, and I'm sure he knew that. Didn't end up getting caught, but I mean, just a repeat of what happened next, and just Page's life is 0-3 at the moment. It's still even in CS, as we were talking about earlier, before to his prior death, but I mean, has not finished his mythic, unlike the Malzahar, still going to be down a little bit of gold, and I mean, is really just going to be looking at the supporting role for his Syndra E.
Yeah, and this Malzahar is getting a Dark Seal, so this is going to be a little bit scary for Spear if he gets enough stacks on that. It's just going to be a lot of painful space aids. I wanted to talk. Actually, hang on a moment, Brian.
Brian's coming in, not really going to find much though. Comes in for the stun, eats a tower shock. Ariri just kind of laughs in his face and pokes him out. Brian Sang has gone in with the Zen's Blade. Hits the Solar Flare again, is already up. Freelancer with the taunt. Ariri not expecting the ultimate to be up and just pays with it for his life.
Yeah, Riri not respecting the CC chaining of Leona, and also how low her ult cooldown is. Surprisingly low for just how impactful it can be. So he just eats the entire layers of CC. Freelance walks up. This is actually like, ooh, actually on the fight. Sure.
Out of the weak hits. Looks like the Glacial Fissure as well, but they don't know the Shen is coming in. A double elastic screenshot onto the Blitz bounce on top of the whole team fight, and Team Spear is getting eviscerated. Orphic, you have to get out of there. Looks like he's burning down. Looks like Jeff God Gamer flashes forward, but Sivlock stabs in his face, and I mean, it's just a white.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Spear. You know, good on Orphic for finishing the dragon, but you know, once your team's engaged on like that, they're just getting mauled. Like, you should probably try to turn quicker and, you know, finish the dragon later, try to win the fight. But by the time he actually engages, they've already lost 2 members of the team. There's no one left that can, like, kind of assist him except for Diddle. So they just kind of lose it. Again, the CC layering from YUBI is actually insane this game. You saw it there. The Leona, the Shen, the Malzahar, the Zac. It's just, there's nothing you can do. Once you get locked down, you might as well just sit there in AFK for 5 minutes and read a book, because you're just never getting out of it. And now YUBI, they're up 10-0. They're up 5,000 gold. I like I said, like, they wanted to prove that yesterday was a fluke, and so far I think they've been doing a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, I mean, taking in a commanding fashion, we did have a little bit of a worrisome situation in the early invades from Orphic in the squad, but I mean, Utility Monster seemed to have found his groove with the help of his teammates. And I mean, You can see the MVP of this match right now is Brian Sang in his roams. You see how impactful he is. We were talking about how low that cooldown was on the Silver Flare, and it's mainly due to his build, the Lucidity Boots and the Kindle Gem earlier, which he turned into a Locket at the moment. But I mean, rushing those items and just moving around the map as well as he is setting up his team for all these kills. And I mean, we're talking about that Malzahar with the Dark Seal. It had 2 stacks just a minute ago, but since that team fight, he has 8. It's looking pretty bad for Team Spear.
Yeah, once he upgrades that to the Magi's, it's gonna be, it's gonna hurt. Those space hits are just gonna burn down whoever he hits. And I also want to talk about the Leona build. So I do play a lot of Leona myself, and I see a lot of Leona in my games as well. If I'm not playing her, you don't often see cooldown boots. Either you see like Moby boots for the roaming, or you see like tank boots because you need to sit and babysit your AD carry, and you need to be the front line. But I actually like this with the cooldown boots. I like that he's foregoing the movement speed because he knows that the vision game from Spear hasn't been as solid, so he knows that he can take his time because they're not going to really expect to see or know he's there until he gets to the lane. And with those cooldowns, he's able to do more roaming because he can use the ult more often, because he can get that CC layering back up quicker from his Q and his E. And I think it's been very effective so far. Like you said, he has been the MVP of this game so far with these roams. And now top turret's going to fall. And I think on the side of Spear, they really need to be careful. And hang on.
It looks like Orphic is found Orphic inside a bush. Orphic fails the ultimate jump, and I mean, you can see how much damage that was. That was basically just the ult and a Q going off, and Orphic's whole health bar through the ultimates going off. Ariri does flash the solar flare, but I mean, there's just so much dive from Team YUBI. This really is looking to be the team comp difference at this point.
Yeah, and Orphic, he's there with the power pose death. You gotta strut your stuff, but yeah, Civilock, great job waiting there, knowing that the enemy jungler would path through there. A lot of people don't ward that bush as much as they should. It's a great spot to just hide and look for a target to pick on, especially if you're pushing topside like that. So very good job from them. And I agree. I think YUBI at this point, like it's the lead isn't insurmountable. If they make a mistake, Spear can still get back into this, but it's looking really rough. Like, look how big that health Shen bar is. Jesus.
Yeah, 3-0. We were talking about how these kills are okay to go on to Freelancer earlier, but I mean, at this point in the game, he's looking to get his second item. He's already level 13. It's just not a good look for Team Spear.
Yeah, and I was talking about the rush from the Zac, but it's the Shen with the Warmog's rush, and I think that's good too. And I think it's smart because of the karma. Because she's been harassing him so much, he needed that Warmog to be able to stay in the lane, especially after all those like trades he's been doing. So I think that has worked out really well. And now you see he's going for, I'm guessing it's going to be the Sunfires as well. Maybe gets like Chem Tech just to kind of make the chase even faster. But this is going pretty well. Like their front line on the side of YUBI is so beefy that I just don't know if Spear's gonna be able to break through it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit about like the boots choice on the Leona, and the reason I think they took Lucidity boots, I'm gonna hold that thought, is Brian saying finds Orphic down, Orphic running away with the help of the Shrelias and Oriri and friends. But I mean, what I was saying earlier is the reason I think she took Lucidity boots is because they already have enough dive with the Zac and the ultimate from the Shen, so the dive is already there. And what Brian Sang's job is really just going to be the stunning and of champions and just kind of locking them down and having that cooldown reduction already sporting at least 30 right there is going to help a lot in these team fights more than the movement speed and the dive.
Yeah, and I think that's been pretty good. Also, like normally, like you'd be peeling for your Sivir, but at this point, I don't think you really need to peel for him because I don't know if Spear can really get through the rest of UB to get to the Sivir. But yeah, like I think this overall, it's been very good on the part of Brian. And they're taking down the second to last outer turret. It's just a matter of time, I think, until they crack the base. But Spear, I think they'll have an idea of what to drop down.
God, as Brian's saying, and Utility Monster go through the elastic slingshot. Looks like the Malzahar suppression is going through. Witch bounce all over the team. Everyone's not going down as fast as they want. Team Spear is fighting back. Freelancer has made it to the fight. Hit that taunt. Looks like the Zac is putting in the work with the damage. Jeff God Gamer with the flash forward, and I mean, Team Spear has lost 2 already. YUBI looking 5-man strong and win that team fight.
Yeah, that was actually a lot closer of a fight than I thought it would be. I think a part of that is that Freelance came into that a little bit later than I thought he should. But now FUBI still managing. Their lead is so big at this point. It's so hard for them to get anything going. Good on Orphic though. Oop.
Diddle's kind of finishing off Utility Monster. Freelancer goes in, does finish off Leshy, but looks like the inhibitor is going to be taken. Those respawn timers are coming up. Orphic and Cheeky Pengu have respawned. A great scatter of the week from Diddle, but is there any follow-up from Team Spear? It looks like a small chase coming through. Looks like they don't want to chase at all. And it looks like YUBI is going to start going back to the bases. Freelancer kind of just says hi in their base for a little bit before he goes back.
Yeah, and Shen's got his mythic done. It is going to be the Frostfire. And I saw it in that fight. After he got in there, like, he walked out with, like, a quarter of his health and walked back in completely full 10 seconds later. That's how strong new Warmogs is. And, you know, with the changes they've made, it's just easier to hit it. But that worked out really well for Yubi. Good on Orphic, though. For on the side of Spear, he did stop the Malzahar ultimate with his dunk and his Q, so that was pretty good. But it's at this point it's just not enough. There's just so much damage and so much tankiness that even in a close fight like that, like it's still just Yubi favored. Though I think the closeness of it will give Spear a little bit of like a morale boost. Like, hey, you know, we almost took this fight despite being this down. So maybe if we get a good pick, we can actually win a fight. Like we pick someone off just before it. But then now we got Yubi on the Baron.
Yeah, I'm UB on the Baron, but Utility Monster's found himself in a rock and a hard place. Utility Monster trying to fight back, does get over. Freelancer does ult him for self-assurance. But on the bot side of the map, Team Spear does have their bot lane on that bottom side. And, I mean, it's potentially a 5v3 as Cheeky Pingo makes himself starts coming up. Freelancer, taunt. I didn't even know you can bounce over that. The Solar Flare comes down. Now Utility Monster jumps over. Not a care in the world for the Smite Secure. And, I mean, I guess it's a Smite Secure if the jungler goes down on the other side of the map. And Orphic gives up his life to try and stop the Baron, but I mean, ends up going down, and Team UB pick it up.
Yeah, and good on UB. Now they've got the Baron, so now it's just the beginning of the march. I think they just march down mid or bot lane, probably mid, just to allow that minion wave to crash on the bot side before they rotate over. But like, you know, Baron is a very, very strong tool here, especially when you're this far ahead. I think, like I said, I think this is the point where they just kind of lock down this game. And Spear, they tried their best there, but it's just, at this point, it is the comp difference. It's just their comp does not scale as hard as the side of UB. I wonder if what they make their last stand of. Did they make it at the inhibitor turret, or are they going to make it right here?
Yeah, I mean, UB knows they're ahead. They don't care. They don't give a care in the world. They're not even going to start with 4-1, something of the sort. It's just going to be a straight 5-on-5, barrel down ARAM style, right down the middle of the lane. And the only thing Team Spear can do is really watch.
Yeah, it's just they can't really contest it because they know if they contest it and they lose it, it's game over. Like they just straight up lose the game. They like I said, they have to find a pick before they can even think about starting a fight, and that might actually be it. Nope.
A good scatter of the week. Utility Monster did see that window, knowing the scatter was down, possibly wanting to go in. But I mean, it looks like Team UB is playing it a little bit slower. But Orphic has found himself caught in these topside bushes yet again and goes down to Team UB.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to establish vision on these side when you're on any side of the map when you're losing. And I mean, this is just a consequence of just face checking that bush, especially when the team has Baron. You just saw them walk into that jungle.
Yeah, and like when they walk in there, you haven't seen any of them use it ult yet, especially Malzahar. You really can't be walking in there alone. You need and you have to be in there like as a group. And now last inhibitor is looking to collapse right here.
Oh God, taking a little bit of tower damage. Freelance has already walked in the minions in the mid lane though, already on those Nexus towers. But I mean, looks like Utility Monster does get the swing shot in, lands onto the Syndra. Solar Flare comes down. Looks like Team UB is just barreling into the base. Utility Monster is staying true to his name, just a straight monster in the back lines of these fights. Civlock going forward on the Malzahar. Nothing Team Spear can do, and I mean, the last inhibitor falls. That's probably going to prompt the end of the game as Team UB takes down that last Nexus turret. Looking to go in a little bit more, a little bit pad the stats. Utility Monster does go down to Leshy. We see that shutdown gold from the Tristana. First kill of the game, but will be her last, and Team UB take the game.
Yeah, and UB dominating it. Unfortunately, not able to get the perfect kill game. They did lose one there at the end. Wow, Utility Monster like feeding the enemy team. But in seriousness, good job from UB. That was a dominating game to start this out, and it was fast. Like they just tore through that. what was the time at the end of that? Like about 22 minutes or so. I have to double check again, but that was a very quick 26 minutes. I'm being told. Sorry, I'm so excited to watch, so into the action. I'm not watching the timer, but like this is what we wanted to see. This is what we expected to see out of YUBI, was this kind of level of domination yesterday, and now that they've shown it here, I think it's just going to continue.
Yeah, I think it's going to continue, but on the other hand, we did see some glimmers of hope from Team Spirit. We did see on the top side of the map, they did have a counter/flex pick into the Shen. They have more draft flexibility. We did see their mid laner get choked out a little bit. Wasn't that great of a showing from Diddle, as we know he's not really known for his Syndra play, more known for the champions that got banned out, such as the Anivia. But I mean, if we're going to see anything, if we're going to see, we did see some glimmers of hope. We saw the early invades to try and shut down Utility Monster, which kind of worked in the beginning of the map, in the beginning of the game. But we saw Brian Sang making those roams. We saw it working, the jungler working together, the top laner, everybody working really well together, trying not to give up as much, giving up what they need to give up in order to stay ahead, stay even, and then find their fights through better macro play. And I mean, of course, Yubi does take away this game, but I don't think it's lost for Team Spirit if they can regain their composure. I would like to see Ariri back on some sort of carry as we know him for. Ditto, if his mid laners aren't banned, something like the Anivia would help them with their choke points and their holds. I think they're a little bit too hasty and their pathing was a little off. But I think their warding was good, and if they can find fights in this next game, I think they will have a chance to take a game off of Team Yubi.
Yeah, I still think Spirit, like, they can they can make some noise. They could still they still have a chance in this. They just, they need to adjust their play a little bit. They need to adjust their team comp. I think putting Diddle on something more aggressive, but that again might be just because of the bans. He might not be as comfortable on something else. But in that case, putting Ariri on something aggressive to allow him to kind of take control of the game, or at least the top lane, I think that's the play I'm hoping to see out of them in the next draft.
Yeah, definitely hoping to see that in the next draft. But I mean, as we close out this game one and start going into game two, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back.
What makes you an exception?